Zippity-doo-dah. Zippity day. My, oh my, it's a wonderful day. How you doing? It's good Thursday. Good to see you. Thursday, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 13th day of February 2020. I am Dan Kuntz. Thanks for starting your day with us here on the NCW Life channel. Drop dead gorgeous sunrise coming our way. Hope you had a chance to enjoy yesterday. This beautiful day. Wednesday topped off at 50 degrees. Wasn't a record breaker. Now remember, on Tuesday, we almost tied a record high, and it was another gorgeous day. On a Wednesday, going to see a few more high clouds today. Weak systems coming in today and tonight. Then a more active weather system coming in on the weekend. We'll give you some complete forecast details. We're not expecting any kind of dramatic weather. The only thing that's on our radar from Mother Nature's perspective is more snow in the mountain passes. They got out to a really late start for the snow. It was like, is the snow ever going to come to the Cascades? And this was like in November when this really starts happening, and really for a great deal of December, and then boom. Starting about mid-December, it started to snow in the Cascades and the passes, and it kind of hasn't really stopped. It got a lot of snowpack up there, and we love that. Forecast details are coming up. Also, we have your past report. Take a look at sports. Also, your Thursday morning headlines. Hey, it is Thursday. Kennel Cameos. Percy the dog needs a home. Megan McPherson will introduce you to Percy when we come up here in just a little bit. And then the conversation portion of this program, the back half of the hour, the continuing series of interviews with the newsmakers in North Central Washington. Steve Hare is the host of In Focus, and he had a chance to sit down with the CEO of the Chelan-Douglas Regional Port Authority, Jim Kuntz, to talk all things port, including Pangbourne and development and all that good stuff. And he'll have that conversation in the back half of the hour. A couple minutes after the hour, 33 degrees with just a few high clouds. Just take you around the valley with our Valley View cameras. The cross camera bats lead off. I love the baseball analogy. Pretty much the same angle we had yesterday. Maybe it's pulled back just a little bit. And for those of folks, of course, who were born and raised here and have spent most of their life here, and I'm one of them. One of the amazing things that you get to see from the cross camera here from the tip of Wenatchee Heights is really how much this valley has grown, especially in the last 15 years or so. The orchards are going away, the housing developments are going in, and the secret is out. People like to live here. Good morning to the Wenatchee Valley. Oh, it's a beautiful place we call home. Now, of course, it's the guessing game. Megan gets to pick the next three cameras, and I have to figure out what we're looking at, and I know we're looking at there. That's Jump Off Ridge, is it not, Megan? That's Jump Off Ridge. See the difference there in the cameras? That's of course considerably farther up in elevation and way back. That's the valley way off there. But look at the sky, how cobalt blue it looks as compared to the orangey peachy skies that we saw from the cross camera. That's Jump Off Ridge. The Stamil Basin is down there, the mighty Columbia, Malaga, Three Lakes, most of the East Wenatchee Bench clearly visible. That's a spectacular view. Not easy to get to, but once you get there, that's the payoff from the view at Jump Off Ridge. Don't jump off Ridge, by the way. It's painful. Camera 3. We say hello and good morning to, it's not Stamen Flats, I don't think. Is it Stamen Flats? Oh, it is Stamen Flats. Okay, well, I'm staying corrected. Must be pointing down to the south towards the Aniat area. That would be my guess anyway. Stamen Flats is right before you have to make your decision on how you plan to go to the Lake Chelan area. You want to stay on US 97A, go through the Knapsail Tunnel and dump yourself off at Pat and Mike's, or do you take the Navarre Coulee Road and hook up with Lake Chelan at the State Park? That's decision-making time there as the mighty Columbia rolls right along. Woody Guthrie wouldn't lie to us. And finally, camera number 4. That's a gorgeous view. Spectacular view of, I don't know. Oh, it's the monitor camera. Okay. Thanks. Megan goes, Megan didn't know there for a minute. That's the monitor camera. So somewhere down there is monitor and Kashmir. Obviously, it's pointing due east because that's where the sun is coming up. But that's, from my vantage point, I would have no idea where that is except thanks to Megan, she told me. So good morning to our friends in Monitor. Of course, we are the #1 ranked live local television show in the greater Monitor area. I can't tell you how proud we are of that. 5 minutes after the hour. From the National Weather Service, we got a couple of slides to show for you. They sent them down the line. I thought you might enjoy them. It's a sneak peek of what's going on. We'll get to those slides in just a little bit. Oh, there we go. First of all, the snow outlook, excuse me, for today and tomorrow. Not a lot, except you see that one little yellow splotch off to the west. That is the mountain passes, and they are going to get a lot of snow later on today. So we're talking about 2 to 4 inches of snow this afternoon and another 2 to 4 inches possible tonight, spilling into Friday. They have a winter weather advisory for the major mountain passes. So that's where the snow is, as you can see, for almost all of the swath of eastern Washington. We are going to stay dry for Thursday and Friday. The snow forecast for the weekend, slightly different graphic. Take a look. So the moderate threat for snow is to the west of us, but up in the Medhow Valley, Winthrop, you're going to get a little bit of snow. Twisp, Plain, you're going to get measurable snow. Here in the Wenatchee Valley and the Columbia Basin, a very slight chance of snow. So take a look at that map and figure out where you live, and you see the key in the lower right-hand corner. So most of the snow will be in the central Idaho Panhandle and along the Cascade Crest. We should be high and dry, but we could still get a stray snowflake or two from Mother Nature. In fact, we do have that forecast. Patriot Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, by the way, they're going to give your home a hug. Here comes the van. Boom, boom. There they go. So just a few more clouds today. Not quite a sunshine. Also a little bit on the cooler side. We hit 50 yesterday. We're looking more like 47 today, and we'll call it either partly sunny or partly cloudy, depending on whether you're an optimist or a pessimist. Partly cloudy skies tonight, 32 for the overnight low. Clouds will be thickening up on Friday. In fact, the sun's going to be taking Friday and Saturday off for the most part, so I did hope you have a chance to enjoy the sun yesterday. Going to be kind of filtered sunshine today. Also on Friday, going to be just a little breezy at times. This is this weak weather system that's coming in Friday. It exits the area Friday night, although we could see a stray snowflake. I wouldn't bet on it. Although the snow level is going to be down about 1,500 feet, there's nothing really precipitation-wise out there. On Friday night, we'll get down to around 31 degrees. Saturday, a slight chance of some rain, snow. Outside of that, just mostly cloudy. Again, we're talking for the Wenatchee Valley. And on Saturday, we'll get up to about 45 degrees, 32 for the overnight low on Saturday night. Again, a slight chance of a light rain-snow mix, only about 30%. Sunday, slight chance of a little bit of snow early Sunday morning. We'll probably be sleeping if that happens at all. For the most part, the sun will eventually be coming out. It should be a beautiful Sunday afternoon. And a high of 46. Monday is a holiday for a lot of people. It's President's Day. Lots of sunshine on Washington's birthday, if you pardon the expression. High of 46. Sunshine Tuesday. Looking pretty good, really, for all of next week. One more item of business. I didn't get to this. Sunrise this morning, 7:10, about 2 minutes away. Sunset tonight, 5:21. That means we get 10 hours and 11 minutes of daylight today on this day before Valentine's Day. To the mountain passes we go, and there are no issues at all right now. That is going to change. Good time to go, because they're going to get snow later on. Right now, that's a live shot of I-90. It's no advisories, no restrictions. You see some patchy fog. So visibility, a bit of an issue. The roadways are fine. They're bare and dry, with a couple of wet spots. No problems at all. On Stevens Pass, roadways bare and wet. Couple of patches of frost and ice here and there. Outside of that, you got no problems at all. Clear skies up above. Nothing coming down. Blue Pass. No complaints there. Roadways bare and dry, some patches of frost and ice in places. So right now is a good time to go if you have travel passes, because starting about noon or so today, it's going to start snowing. And by the time the sun goes down, they could get anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of snow in the mountain passes. That's today. And then an additional 4 to 8 inches of snow tonight. So they do have a winter weather advisory. It starts at 10 o'clock this morning, goes until 10 o'clock on Friday morning. Then a couple of inches of snow on Friday, 2 to 4 inches Friday night, Saturday an additional 3 to 5 inches, maybe 3 to 5 inches Saturday night, and then a little bit of snow on Sunday, and then they will go through a dry period just like us. So expect winter driving conditions most of the afternoon, overnight tonight, and most of the weekend in the Cascades right now. No advisories, no restrictions. This show has no advisories nor restrictions. The news is 1 minute away. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley, broadcasting live this morning from Studio 3 in downtown Wenatchee on the NCW Life Channel.
I have a hereditary bone disease from the female side of my family. My bone loss was so significant that you could almost see the roots. I became embarrassed and I started covering my mouth. Eating became very difficult as far as I stopped eating apples, corn on the cob, things that you just eat as it is without utensils. Dr. Divis was my dentist prior to having implants. We talked about traditional dentures or implants, and implants was the only way really that I could go. John Divis and all of his office staff, they checked on me throughout all the processes. I would never go anyplace else. Today, I can eat corn on the cob. I can have apples. Thanks to Dr. John Divis and his staff, I have my smile back. I feel more confident. I am me again.
This is John Divis. Let our team help you solve your dental needs.
Just about 11 minutes after the hour on this Thursday, we have just a few high clouds. It's a beautiful sunrise. 35 degrees, filtered sunshine today. Highs will be in the upper 40s. Pretty cloudy on Friday and Saturday. The sun will return on Sunday. Could get a little bit of light rain or snow, just a little bit over the weekend. Here's what's making headlines on this Thursday. Pangbourne Memorial Airport had a record-breaking year. In 2019, more passengers than ever passed through the terminal. Chelan-Douglas Regional Port Authority CEO Jim Kuntz says that's cause for celebration, and that could mean more flights to SeaTac.
We closed 2019 with a very strong year, about 127,000 boardings total. That's people getting on and off the Alaska airline flight. That is a record for us. We had an in particularly strong December. It's best on record for December of people getting on airplanes. So passenger boardings is strong, remains strong. The last 3 years has been very, very good. We continue to look at expanding air service into the valley. First of all, with Alaska Airlines, they normally have a 3-flight schedule. The last year or two, during our busy times, they would flex for a 4-flight schedule. Mm-hmm. What we're finding is that they think our market is performing well, and so this 4-flight flex schedule continues to get elongated. So instead of just a couple weeks here, a week here, we're seeing more and more of the 4-flight schedule being implemented. I think that bodes well for the greater Wenatchee Valley.
Horizon Airlines reported their flights to Seattle, on average, have about a 74% capacity rate. On another front, Kuntz says efforts to have a second commercial air service to San Francisco, those efforts have stalled.
And what's happened is, even though we don't have 737s landing at Pangbourne, with all those airplanes grounded, the regional jets are now out in markets that used to be served by 737s.
I see.
So our problem is there's not a regional jet to be had. So even if we had an airline call and say we want to go Wenatchee to the Bay Area direct, there's not a regional jet to be had. So what we need to do is we need to root for Boeing and the FAA to get those airplanes recertified and get them out flying.
Last time I had heard that it sounds a lot more positive that might occur.
That's what I'm hearing
Later
as
this
well.
summer, possibly.
Yeah, it is. That's what I hear too. Later this summer, it appears now Boeing and the FAA for the first time are saying the same things. Mm-hmm. That must be aligned. We've got to get the 737s back out. With that, the regional jets will be turned back into some of the smaller markets, and we're still cautiously optimistic we're going to land something. I think it's not if, I think it's a question of when.
Kuntz said it could take up to 4 years to land that second commercial carrier that would fly from Pangbourne to the Bay Area, but he says he remains cautiously optimistic. He says there's also interest in pursuing another regional flight service to either Phoenix or maybe even possibly Las Vegas. Steve Hare's entire conversation with Jim Kuntz will air in the second half of this program. Well, if you live, play, or work in the upper Wenatchee Valley, you know that traffic is a real problem, lots of congestion. The state DOT launched a study last year to assess traffic issues along the highway corridor that extends from Coles Corner into Cashmere, but officials concede there are no simple answers on fixing those problems, especially on weekends and on holidays.
Unfortunately, there's not a silver bullet for fixing quote unquote, the congestion issues on the corridor, but I think we've got a good suite of project strategies to roll out to the public.
Nick Manzaro is the DOT project leader, and he says the study has identified some possible corrective measures that will be discussed at a public open house that'll be held tonight in Leavenworth. But Jeff Wilkins with the Regional Planning Council says finding a long-term solution is definitely going to be a challenge.
Whatever projects that are on this list of proposals we have that, particularly up in the Leavenworth community, that people really get excited about and support, we'll continue as Regional Council to support the efforts to further develop those things, turn them into real projects, find the money to build them. But I think that this really is a starting point where we're laying out some proposed solutions, lots of small solutions, lots of 5 and 10% fixes. Mm-hmm. Like Nick said, we don't have any big silver bullet solution that just makes the traffic congestion go away.
You can learn a lot more about the study and their findings and their recommendations. You can find them online at the Chelan-Douglas Regional Transportation Council's website. Wilkins and Manzaro's In Focus interview, by the way, you can see in its entirety by going to our website at ncwlife.com. 3 baby cougars have a safe new home now. This is 3 weeks after they were orphaned. They were captured in downtown Winthrop. NCW Life's Jefferson Robbins talked to the folks caring for those cougars, and he filed this report.
The 2 males and 1 female cougar cub were found January 22nd under the deck of a residential home in Winthrop in Okanagan County. There was no sign of their parent, and because they were too small to survive alone, the State Department of Fish and Wildlife had to quickly capture them and find them a new home. That's where the Wildcat Sanctuary in Sandstone, Minnesota comes in.
Right now we're a 40-acre facility. Every square inch of it is built out. We have the capacity to take in about 100 animals. Mostly we take in captive-born cats that have been seized by authorities or people try to keep illegally as pets. But our goal here at the sanctuary is to allow animals to be wild at heart and give them back a piece of what was stripped from them.
Tammy Thies founded the sanctuary 20 years ago. Cats there are allowed to roam as freely as possible, with much of the same enrichment they might find in their home environments. Over the years, the staff has taken in more than a dozen orphaned cougars from Washington.
Animals come to us when it's been deemed by other entities or authorities that they can't live in the wild. We're not a rehab facility. We work with rehabbers all the time, so if animals can be released or rehabbed and go back into the wild, that's the first choice. But if they can't, we still want to give them dignity and compassion.
The 3 new cubs, estimated to be about 4 to 6 months old and 40 to 50 pounds each, were flown out from Washington on February 3rd. After a week, they got spay and neuter treatment to prepare for their new lives in Minnesota. The cougars are likely to grow to adulthood and spend their whole lives at the sanctuary. When they're full grown, they'll be upwards of 150 pounds.
And now they get to be just left alone to be cougar kittens and learn to trust humans a little bit so that we can give them quality care. And then after they recover, especially the female from her spay, they'll get outdoor access again. So we're really excited to see how they roll and play and start discovering their new life here.
The animals don't have proper names yet. You can put in your suggestions for naming the 3 cubs and make a donation toward their upkeep on the Wildcat Sanctuary's Facebook page or at wildcatsanctuary.org. Jefferson Robbins, NCW Life.
Thank you for that report, Jefferson. And finally, on this Thursday morning, legislation sponsored by 12th District Representative Keith Gaynor to promote oil-free hydroelectric turbine technology. It passed the House Finance Committee on Monday. It's House Bill 2825. It would provide tax incentives for public utility districts who are replacing their turbines with oil-free adjustable blade hubs. The oil-free hydroelectric turbine technology has the potential to remove 90% of oil lubricant from systems, substantially reducing the potential for the release of oil into rivers and waterways. For dams operated by Chelan County on the Columbia River, it will eliminate 89% of the oil at the turbine hub at Rocky Ridge Dam and 90% at Rock Island Dam. And that's the news at 18 minutes after the hour with a preview of tonight's news. Here's Grant Olson.
Good morning, Dan. Coming up tonight on the NCW Life Evening News, we will have our weekly kennel cameo feature from the Wenatchee Valley Humane Society, where we'll introduce you to Percy the dog. I'll have your complete North Central Washington weather forecast, and Eric Granstrom will be in with a look at sports. All that plus the day's news coming up tonight at 5, 6, and 10 on the NCW Life Evening News. Hope to see you then. Dan, back to you.
Thank you, Grant. We appreciate it, and we'd love to hear from you, our viewers. Get a hold of us. You can go to our Facebook page, give us a big old thumbs up, drop us a line on the Facebook Messenger. We'd love to hear from you that way. If you want to pick up the telephone and give us a call, the number is at the bottom of your screen. You can go to our website at ncwlife.com, click on the Contact Us icon, fill out the form there, or email us directly, news@ncwlife.com. 19 minutes after the hour, going to take a break. When we come back, sports, the obscure holiday, today in history, some celebrity birthdays, kennel cameos, everyone's entitled to Mike McNally's opinion, and Steve Hare's conversation with the CEO of the Chelan-Douglas Regional Port Authority, Jim Kuntz, all coming up between now and the top of the hour. You're watching Wake Up in Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Life channel.
My name is Lacey Haggerty, and I'm a nurse midwife with Columbia Valley Community Health. I love all aspects of my job because it is a profession that's very committed to empowering women to make decisions in their health care that feel best for them. It's incredibly valuable to me as a midwife that I get to take care of women throughout their whole lifespan. I hope to see you at a future visit because I know you'll love having midwifery care.
The world around us is constantly changing. Major employers in North Central Washington have expressed a need for capable, qualified engineering technologists who can think critically and solve problems. And at Wenatchee Valley College, we listened. We are pleased to offer a Bachelor of Applied Science Engineering Technology degree to provide you with a world of new opportunities. Your time is now. The future is waiting for you.
We're back 21 minutes after the hour. Let's do sports. The Wenatchee Valley College Lady Knights basketball team defended their home floor last night, a 53-44 win over North Idaho. Carrie Ann Kunkel and Chastity Spady each had 14 points to lead the Lady Knights, who improved to 9-3 in the East Conference play. They remain a half game back of second place Yakima Valley, 3 games behind Walla Walla, who's in first. Chance Michaels' three-pointer at the buzzer wasn't enough, though, last night for the men, who fell to North Idaho 79-78. The Knights had the lead with 2:35 remaining in the second half. Couldn't hold it. The Cardinals win their 11th straight games. Michaels finished with 17 points. Abdullah had 13 for the Wenatchee Valley. The Knights remain in third place in the NWAC East. They're 8-4, 20-5 overall. All right, let's take a look at the women's college basketball schedule for tonight. Eastern Washington will host Idaho. Washington plays at number 12 Arizona. Washington State will visit number 22 Arizona State. At 6 o'clock, number 15 Gonzaga will host San Francisco. Central Washington is on the road to take on Simon Fraser. On the men's schedule tonight, the Huskies play at USC. You can watch that on ESPN2. Central Washington is at Alaska Fairbanks. Eastern hosts Idaho. And on the Pac-12 network tonight at 8 is the Cougars and UCLA in Los Angeles. To the Les Schwab Prep boys basketball schedule from last night. Central Washington Bead League Tournament. Orville edged Manson, so their Trojans season has come to an end. Liberty Bell topped Bridgeport, so the Mustang season is also over. And in the CWAC District Tournament, Ellensburg beat Ephrata 56-50. The prep basketball schedule for tonight, let's take a look at it. Girls play. Antioch wraps up the regular season. They'll be at Moses Lake Christian. It's the first round of the Central Washington 2B District Tournament. You got Bridgeport at Brewster. Lake Roosevelt will host Tenasket. And on the boys' side tonight, it's Antioch at Moses Lake Christian tipping off at 7:30. The Wenatchee Wild wrap up the regular season home schedule this weekend. They got games on Friday and Saturday. They'll host Vernon tomorrow night at 7:05. It's Love Date Night, Valentine's Day, of course. On Saturday, Fan Appreciation Night. The first 1,000 folks through the door get the new Walt bobblehead doll, Chilliwack, will be in town. So there's 5 games remaining on the schedule. Wenatchee could still position itself with home ice advantage. There's just 3 points separating 3 teams between 3rd, 4th, and 5th place in the Interior Division. Tomorrow on this very program, we'll be visiting with Luke Ormsby of the Wenatchee Wild, and of course the voice of the Wild, our checker, and you'll have a chance to win tickets as well to games this weekend. It is hockey night tonight on the NCAA Life Channel. It always is on Thursday. You'll be able to watch the Wenatchee Wild's game against Coquitlam from back on February 1st. Our checker with the call will kick it off, or drop the puck, I should say, at 7 o'clock. We got playoff basketball live this Saturday. Looking forward to this. Eric Granstrom will be courtside, Eastmont High School, Kashmir Bulldogs and Omak Pioneers for the District 6 1A Championship. That's at 5 o'clock. That'll be followed by the Boys District Championship between Kashmir and Okanagan. That'll be at 7. That's right here at your home for local sports. Live TV this weekend on the NCAA Life Channel. Finally, the Mariners. They welcome back to Taewon Walker to the fold. Pitchers and catchers, of course, are back at work in Peoria. The 27-year-old free agent signed a 1-year Major League contract. He'll get a shot at a starting role with the team he used to play for. Of course, he was dealt to the Arizona Diamondbacks 3 years ago. Walker comes in after the club placed reliever Austin Adams on the 60-day injured list. Adams is recuperating from surgery on his left knee. He tore his ACL on the final road trip last season. And those are just some of the games that people are playing. By the way, 42 days until opening day. The obscure holiday on this February 13th, it's National Cheddar Day. Cheddar cheese. Cheddar cheese goes back to Cheddar, which is a village in Somerset, England, all the way back in the 12th century. Now, cheddar cheese makes up for a third of all the cheese sold in the United States. A third of that is cheddar cheese, but it has nothing on England. 2/3 of all the cheese sold in England is cheddar cheese. And way back in 1894, a gentleman by the name of Peter McIntosh, who was from Somerset, England, brought his cheese-making skills to Tillamook County, Oregon, because he found out that it rained a lot. There's a lot of grass, a lot of green, wet grass, and the cows really like to eat that stuff. So he taught the locals all he knew about cheddar cheese, and in time, of course, he became known as the king, the cheese king of the coast, Peter did. There are now more cows than people in Tillamook, and Tillamook, Oregon is known as making some of the finest cheddar cheese to be found anywhere in the world. In fact, the Tillamook County Creamery Association came up with National Cheddar Day. I don't have any problem with that. Enjoy a little cheddar cheese today. That's one of my favorites, 26 minutes after the hour. Today in history, before O.J., the trial of the century was the trial of Bruno Hampton, who was found guilty on this date, 85 years ago today, February 13th, 1935. A jury in Flemington, New Jersey, found Bruno Hampton guilty of the 1932 kidnapping and murder of the Lindbergh baby, the son of Charles Lindbergh. This captivated the nation for a couple of years because Charles Lindbergh Jr., Charles Augustus Lindbergh Jr., the baby, Lindbergh baby, was kidnapped on March 1st, 1932. The body was found a couple of months later, not far from the Lindbergh estate. But Bruno Hampton wasn't caught for another 3 years, put on trial, found guilty, was eventually executed. Experts now agree almost entirely that Bruno Hampton did, in fact, kidnap the Lindbergh baby for ransom, but accidentally killed the Lindbergh baby. Didn't mean to kill the baby, it just happened to occur that way. He was found guilty on this date 85 years ago today. My favorite vice president, Spiro Agnew. Yeah, it happened on this date, February 13th, 1971. 49 years ago today, teeing off at the first hole of the first round of the Bob Hope Desert Classic in beautiful Palm Springs, Arizona. Spiro T. Agnew, the Vice President of the United States, he was playing with Bob Hope and Willie Mays and Doug Sanders. His first tee shot sliced it into the gallery. He struck a 66-year-old man and his wife. He took time to visit with the injured couple, kissed her on the forehead, apologized, went back to the tee box, re-teed his shot, shanked it off the toe with a club, hit an elderly woman in the ankle. She was sent to the hospital with x-rays. So for those of you keeping score for Spiro T. Agnew, 2 shots, 3 spectators. Happened on this date 49 years ago today. And if you lived in the Northwest, you remember when the Hood Canal Bridge went down. It happened on this date, February 13th, 1979. A huge windstorm, massive windstorm struck the Pacific Northwest, and the half-mile section of the Hood Canal Bridge went right into the Hood Canal itself. There were sustained winds of 85 miles an hour, with gusts as high as 125 miles an hour. In between the water pressure and the wind, it started to do this, and it tilted up just enough so the hatches, the airtight hatches, were able to flood. The bridge went down. It took nearly 3 years and $140 million to rebuild the Hood Canal Bridge, which, of course, is a vital link in the Puget Sound area. It sank on this date 41 years ago today, and finally at 29 minutes after the hour. Birthdays. Bess Truman, the wife of Harry Truman, the 35th First Lady of the United States, born in the state in 1885, lived to the age of 97. In fact, Bess Truman, the longest-lived First Lady in American history. She had the nearly impossible task of succeeding Eleanor Roosevelt as the First Lady. She did not like being the First Lady. She did not like living in Washington, D.C. She didn't like the social scene. She hated the politics. She flew back to her home to visit her mother in Independence, Missouri, every chance she could get. Her husband, Harry, was seriously considering running for president in 1952. He was legally able to do it, and she said, if you do that, I'm going to, divorce you. So he didn't. And Bess Truman's mother, Margaret, was a daughter of the Confederacy. She didn't much care for Harry Truman. Harry Truman was a good son-in-law. He always talked good about his mother-in-law. She didn't stand Harry Truman. I mean, nobody was good enough for her Bess Truman's mother. In fact, whenever she visited the first couple in Washington, D.C., she refused to sleep in the Lincoln bedroom because she was a daughter of the Confederacy. Bess Truman, born in the state in 1885. Bob Jackson, born in the state in 1892. Bob Jackson was the 82nd Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court. He has two really interesting facts about him. He is the only person in history of this country to be the Solicitor General of the United States, the Attorney General of the United States, and then eventually a Justice on the United States Supreme Court. And he is the last justice who did not earn a law degree. Bob Jackson, born in the state in 1892, died in 1954 at the age of 62. And happy birthday to Coach K. Mike Krzyzewski is 73 years old today, 5 times an NCAA champion with Duke University, of course. He went to 12 Final Fours. He has more wins than any other men's basketball coach in Division I college history. He's 73 years old today. All right, 31 minutes after the hour, Mike McNally's got an opinion. Steve Harris' conversation with Jim Kuntz coming up. But first, Percy the dog needs a home. It's Kennel Cameos with Megan McPherson.
Hey everyone, Megan here with the NCW Life Channel. We're here with Jenny, the volunteer coordinator at the Wenatchee Valley Humane Society, and Percy is joining us this week. Can you tell us about Percy?
Yeah, Percy's about 5 years old. He's probably one of our best dogs we have here. We're a little surprised that he's still here. Percy waits every single day at the front of his kennel, just looking at you with his kind of little soulful eyes. He doesn't bark. He's pretty clean in his kennel. He goes to play group, so he's good with other dogs. I would still actually, if you had another dog, bring your dog here for a meet and greet just to make sure. He assessed neutral with our cat, which is a pretty good sign. It's like he didn't really pay any attention to it, and which is a pretty good sign. Overall, he's a really great dog. He's in our CGC program here with our volunteer Barb, and he's kind of the star student of the group right now, so we just love Percy, so we'd like for somebody to come down and meet Percy.
And how can someone adopt Percy?
Percy's ready to go home today, so just come on down to the shelter to meet him.
Percy!
Do you want to say anything?
The Wenatchee Valley Humane Society is located at 1474 South Wenatchee Avenue and is open Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Give them a call at 509-662-9577 or visit their website at wenatcheehumane.org. This has been Kennel Cameos at the Wenatchee Valley Humane Society.
Arctic Refrigeration and Heating, serving North Central Washington, is proud to offer the finest heating and cooling air quality products along with prompt and professional customer service since 1984. Regardless of the temperature outside, Arctic is here for you. Arctic offers a variety of services: residential and commercial heating, air conditioning, commercial refrigeration, as well as planned fall and spring maintenance for the overall well-being of your system. Call Arctic Refrigeration and Heating for your heating and cooling needs.
Hey, this is Mike Mad Dog McNally, and everybody is entitled to my opinion. Now, like I've said before, 75% of folks here in the good old USA call ourselves Christian. Well, that's fine, I guess. But what's really tragic is there are people who don't realize that the true test of loving and sacrificing for others, doing unto others as you would have them do unto you, etc., is first and foremost to be displayed at home to your families. It doesn't matter who outside of your family thinks you're a great person. If your spouse and your kids don't think so, or if your parents or your siblings think that you're a jerk, you're missing it. You know, if your Christianity and if your love for fellow man isn't first and foremost demonstrated to those who are closest to you, let's face it, it's meaningless. This is Mike Mad Dog McNally, and that's my opinion.
When you think of Doghouse Motorsports, you might think of motorcycles, but there's a lot more in this house. How about Honda power equipment? From snowblowers to lawnmowers to generators and even water pumps, Honda is the brand that sets the standards. Perhaps you need an ATV or UTV. The Doghouse has the largest selection anywhere. Did we mention watercraft and snowmobiles? And of course, we have motorcycles too. Back it up with terrific customer service and you have Wenatchee's best motorsports store 5 years running. Isn't it time for you to be in the Doghouse?
On today's In Focus, our topic is economic development. And part of that, of course, we want to discuss with Jim Kuntz, who's the Chief Executive Officer with the newly formed Chelan-Douglas Regional Port Authority. Thanks for joining us on the program.
You're welcome, Steve.
Well, let's talk about the port. As we mentioned, recently created as a functional consolidation between the Chelan and Douglas County Port Districts. How are things going so far? It's fairly young.
It is. We started January 1st as kind of the new organization, but I think we're off to a great start. We have 26 employees, and the board is constituted by 3 members of the Port of Chelan board and 3 members of the Port of Douglas board. And so there's 6 board of directors, and I think it's a good streamlined economic development agency now with real focus of enhancing the economic vitality of all the communities we serve in the 2-county region. We're able to save about $500,000 in just overhead costs with consolidating 2 port districts. And yes, we have a few less staff, but I think we're more efficient, more focused. And I think it's going to bode well for the future of having this regional effort. As we said during the consolidation, we have a river that seems to separate 2 counties, but we're not separated economically. We're really entwined as one economic region, and the port district should behave similar.
Looking at the new consolidation, I know that we have 2 distinct counties, and are the 2 former port districts able to maintain some identity, at least in terms of the projects that they deal with individually?
Yeah, I think there is some individuality to each of the port districts are going to be retained. Each port brought in their own real estate portfolio. The Regional Port Authority is managing it on their behalf, but as we have development projects on either side of the county, then the port commissions, if they're going to do an investment, let's say in the Port of Douglas, then we'll figure out whether the Port of Douglas wants to make that investment or whether the Port of Chelan should contribute some money towards that. So on individual real estate transactions, I think that there's some individuality into how we go forward. Although, at a broader perspective, I mean, one of the values of consolidation is in Chelan County, 85% of the landmass in Chelan County is owned by either the feds or the state. Mm-hmm. We have very little property available to be developing for industrial purposes, light industrial purposes in Chelan County. In Douglas County, they have a lot of their property in private ownership. And so we see it as a really nice complement to just let's market the valley. I mean, if we land a major employer in Douglas County, we know that a lot of those jobs will be citizens that live in Wenatchee. So I think there's some nice strengths of blending them together simply because of we don't have any landmass in Chelan County to be really developing.
Okay, I know that part of the evolution of this new consolidated port district has to do with the continued operation of Pangbourne Airport. Mm-hmm. That's what really brought the 2 together in the first place, I think. Let's get a little state of the airport right now at Pangbourne and how things are coming along there.
Yeah, so yes, part of the consolidation talk between the 2 ports was the Pangbourne and how to fund Pangbourne long term. It operates in a deficit yearly of about $500,000 a year just in operations and maintenance. That's prior to any capital expenditures. So we're getting to understand the airport a little more closely. We're all aligned now with staff, and again, it will need some efficiencies as well, which I think we can do at the airport. For most of your listeners, it's all about commercial air service, so I can give you a little update on that. We closed 2019 with a very strong year, about 127,000 boardings total. That's people getting on and off the Alaska airline flight. That is a record for us. We had an in particularly strong December. It's best on record for December of people getting on airplanes. So passenger boarding is strong, remains strong. The last 3 years has been very, very good. We continue to look at expanding air service into the valley. First of all, with Alaska Airlines, they normally have a 3-flight schedule. The last year or two, during our busy times, they would flex for a 4-flight schedule. Mm-hmm. What we're finding is that they think our market is performing well, and so this 4-flight flex schedule continues to get elongated. So instead of just a couple weeks here, a week here, we're seeing more and more of the 4-flight schedule being implemented. I think that bodes well for the greater Wenatchee Valley. Even with more service, we still have passenger boarding levels of about 74%.
Okay, I was wondering about that
very,
capacity.
Yeah, that's very strong. So let's talk now for a minute about new flights. Mm-hmm. So just for your listeners, just to give everybody a heads up, we a couple of years ago got a federal grant of $750,000 thanks to Senator Cantwell on a new commercial air service initiative. The business community wrote a check for about $400,000. So those two combined is what we call our economic incentive opportunity. We're out trying to find an airline that will provide direct service to the Bay Area. San Francisco. That is where our business community says they want to go, and they wrote checks to support that. So we are out now talking with different airlines of how do we make that work, what would be a schedule. But one of the big obstacles we have right now, Steve, is the 737s being grounded. Mm-hmm. And what's happened is even though we don't have 737s landing at Pangbourne, with all those airplanes grounded, the regional jets are now out in markets that used to be served by 737s.
I see.
So our problem is there's not a regional jet to be had. So even if we had an airline call and say we want to go Wenatchee to the Bay Area direct, there's not a regional jet to be had. So what we need to do is we need to root for Boeing and the FAA to get those airplanes recertified and get them out flying.
Last time I had heard that it sounds a lot more positive that might occur.
That's what I'm hearing
later
as
this
well.
Summer, possibly.
Yeah, it is. That's what I hear too. Later this summer, it appears now Boeing and the FAA for the first time are saying the same thing. Mm-hmm. So they must be aligned. We've got to get the 737s back out. With that, the regional jets will be turned back into some of the smaller markets, and we're still cautiously optimistic we're going to land something. I think it's not if, I think it's a question of when, and it just takes time to get that right airline.
I know that a part of that process, of course, is working again with those businesses that have pledged and written checks.
Yep.
Patience, I guess, is paramount right now for those businesses.
It is, and there's a lot of.
Is there a timeline for when you have to?
Well, I think we have a 5-year window. Okay. And so we still got like 3 more years. A lot of communities have gotten similar funding like we have, and it takes 2, 3, 4 years to land that airline. And one of the reasons why it takes a while is that airlines, even though that incentive is pretty substantial and the revenue guarantee, they want to fly markets that are sustainable. They don't want to fly a market for a year and a half and say, yeah, we need to pull out. So I just feel that we've got to align with the right airline. And while San Francisco and the Bay Area is one target, we talked to other airlines that have a business model of less than daily service to markets like Phoenix and Las Vegas, and I think they have some interest in our market as well. So we're just not only focusing on the Bay Area. That's where the incentive money is, but we also meet with airlines that say, you should be looking at Wenatchee, and so the less than daily service, they have some interest in this market.
What is needed at the airport in terms of infrastructure to accommodate let's say, a second carrier up there? Aren't there some terminal improvements that need to be made?
Yeah, for the most part, we're pretty good shape. We are, as we speak, expanding the hold area, the security area where passengers wait to board airplanes. And so that's underway. It should be done in the next 30 to 60 days. That will give us enough capacity to be able to have a regional jet and in Alaska Airlines on the ground at the same time in the security hold room. So we're doing that. We're building out a second airline counter in the terminal building right now to be ready for those opportunities. So I give the Port Commission a lot of credit there. They're just not sitting and waiting. They're building out the space so that it's easy to plug and play once we find this additional airline to come in and serve the market.
Okay, but will there be any, I know that initially you were going to go to the legislature, I think, to see if you could get some kind of taxing authority to make some other improvements or what's expected in the future of what might be expected or needed.
Yeah, so this is just getting back into the operations of the
Yes.
airport, less flight related. So there is a community task force made up of county commissioners and mayors of our largest city that talked about the port needing to do regional consolidation. And basically it was a two-step approach. Port districts, why don't you consolidate? Why don't you save some money and run the most efficient operation you can on behalf of the taxpayers of Chelan-Douglas County? That's job one. Okay, we've done that, and we will continue to find some efficiencies. Once you've done that and show to us that you're running an efficient operation, then perhaps we should look at potentially how to fund Pangbourne in a more sustainable manner. And one of the ideas was a 1/10 of 1% increase in the sales tax, which would have to be voter approved. And so we're not there yet in that journey. It would take legislative authority even to put it on the ballot. We don't even have legislative authority even to put it on the ballot. We decided not to do it in the short session, and so we'll see whether that plays out in the next 2 or 3 years.
Can you tell us, with the new consolidation, how the tax rate works in terms of property taxes for the two districts?
Yeah, it's always a challenge trying to meld organizations together and what the tax rates are. So first of all, for your listening audience, the statutory authority at the state level is you can tax 45 cents per thousand of assessed value. That's what port districts have the upper limit to. Both of these port districts have been enormously conservative of how they tax the local property owners. So in Chelan County, the Port of Chelan taxes 24 cents per thousand of assessed value.
Okay.
So very good rate. Douglas County, to their credit, taxes 17 cents per thousand of assessed value. So very good tax rates for both. One of the challenges, obviously, is one port pays more property taxes than the other. But at the end of the day, when you blend our rates, put that money in a pot, right, and go out and do economic development, if we're successful, and let's say we land 50 new jobs, let's say at the Pangbourne Business Park or somewhere, let's say in Douglas County, isn't that good for the region? Isn't it good that people from Wenatchee can drive over and get a job that pays a family wage job? That's economic development, right?
Right.
Did one county pay a little bit more from 24 cents to 17 cents? Yeah, it did, but are you creating jobs? Are you creating value? And what's the value proposition of the Port District? And I think if we can deliver on creating jobs and retaining jobs that will support families, I think that's the bottom line.
Well, to that end of economic development, I know that the port is increasingly involved with developing properties. You've obtained apparently recently the Lineage property downtown in that warehouse district.
Correct.
Some exciting potential there, as I understand.
Yeah, very much so. So Lineage had put on the market 2 large parcels of property, Lineage North and Lineage South. And Lineage South, the port was able to acquire it for $4.5 million. There's roughly 100,000 square feet. The idea that the port commissioners had is to acquire that, break it up in smaller parcels, and be able to get it back into the private sector. Not everybody in the community can write a check for $4.5 million. And so, especially the private development community. So we were concerned that these properties could sit for long periods of time. So
break them up into condominiums.
Exactly, and then let the private business community come in. And so what's happened to date is the phone has been ringing off the hook. There is
really?
strong demand for Lineage South. So we're in the process right now of developing a subdivision plan of what are we going to do to take this 100,000 square foot of buildings that we own and subdivide them into bite-sized pieces. What's going to be the design criteria? How can we make sure that it gets into the private sector hands, that they develop it in a way that the community is proud of? And then we'll do RFPs, requests for proposals, and get these properties out on the street. So we have 3 different nodes. We have a north node, a south node, and a middle node. And so we'll probably do one at a time, and the north node is the one that will go first. That's right on Orondo Avenue, across the street from Badger Mountain Brewery. Those 2 buildings, lots of interest, and so we're excited. We think in the next year or 2, all the buildings will be turned back to private developers and businesses, and you'll see a funky, fun district down there that the port will have played an important part in.
Well, so you're looking at a mix of types of businesses and activities down there?
You know, all kinds of different and interesting uses. We've had some interest in a development firm that does like trampoline gyms and family recreational activity opportunities.
You got axe throwing down there.
Yeah,
now, isn't
yeah, exactly. So there's some interest there, and I think just general interest in redeveloping it for small manufacturing, or there's all kinds of different uses down there. But I think the port will get it out to the developers community, and they'll kind of tell us kind of a little bit of what would be the highest and best use. But we want it redeveloped correctly. We want the buildings repurposed in a responsible manner. We want citizens to drive through the areas that we have purchased, turn back to the private sector and said, wow, someone really thought this through. This is really a fun, neat district.
Well, as I mentioned with Allison Williams when she was on the show, in her capacity as the former Wenatchee City Executive Services Manager, we were talking about that specific thing about the Riverside area, the riverfront, and how it's developed over the past several years. And you have to be proud of what you're seeing down there in terms of tourism and other business growth.
Yeah, it's really fantastic.
The
Port of Chelan was one of the first investors in Pybus, and so for your listeners, that it was the Port of Chelan County that bought Pybus originally. Went in and re-roofed it and did some window packages and all that, and then obviously we had the wonderful Walker family step up and make a huge contribution to make it what it is today. But Port of Chelan was had one of the first investors to make that happen.
I know that you probably want to talk a little bit about your Cashmere Business Park as well, because that is seeing some tremendous growth.
Yeah, Cashmere Business Park has really turned out well. So that's an old mill site that was in Cashmere that was contaminated. The port bought it, worked with the state in getting it cleaned up so that we had dirt that could be sold and developed. And so what the port has done, we've had a mix of what's happened out there. We sold a parcel to Lau's Trust, who came in and built a building and has a really active roof truss company there, created some really good jobs. And then the Port of Chelan County took some of the parcels, and we have developed 2 15,000 square foot multiple-use buildings for new tenants, and we've landed 2 big ones. One is Blue Spirits, who has kind of the Tommy Bahama brand now for rums and vodkas and all of that. They are doing well and in the expansion mode. And then we had a big business recruitment success story with Hearst Corporation. They're out of LA. They do fruit labels primarily for the apple industry, and we recruited them up to Cashmere, and they're leasing space within our manufacturing flex space, and they're doing very well. So,
very good. Well, it sounds like the Chelan-Douglas Regional Port Authority is a going concern, and best of luck on that going forward. I know there's a lot of unfinished business here going forward. In fact, later this week we're going to be talking with some transportation officials about some of the studies that are going on right now, especially with the Confluence Parkway, which is definitely something that you're interested in, as well as the US 2 corridor study.
Yes, I think that the Confluence Parkway is a really good project. We'd really like to see that happen. We need another bridge, another route over the Wenatchee River. I think that's important. And on transportation, one of the things that I've heard recently that is beginning to pick up some steam and kind of a little bit of a reach project, but I think that this community should rally behind it. We need a 4-lane freeway between here and Quincy, and quite frankly to 395. That is becoming a very heavily traveled road. We have had a whole host of fatality accidents there. We need a 4-lane freeway that basically takes us from East Wenatchee through Quincy to the I-90, excuse me. Yeah.
We see a lot of increased commuters between Quincy and East Wenatchee, and sometimes I think we're becoming a bedroom community for some of the business growth that is occurring in Grant County.
Yeah, no, we need to rally the multiple counties and get some money in some of the transportation packages to start the 4-laning to I-90. I just think that needs to happen.
Anything else you'd like to add before we let you go today?
We continue to talk a little bit on occasion to the Alcoa Corporation. You know, they have the idle plant here in the Wenatchee Valley. We'd love to see them restart that. We don't think that that's necessarily economically viable, and so we continue to try to have a good relationship with them to figure out how can we get the excess property there redeveloped in a responsible way. And
I understand you have the so-called Blue Sky project down there. How's that coming along?
Yeah, it's
another manufacturer.
Yeah, another manufacturer has some interest. They need power, but it's a manufacturing process, so it's not data center or cryptocurrency related. It's a pure manufacturing type process, and we seem to be working well with Blue Sky, and talks with Alcoa continue.
Good deal. Well, hopefully we can get something resolved there.
Hope so.
And appreciate you coming in.
You're welcome.
Again, Jim Kuntz joining us with the Chelan-Douglas Regional Port Authority, and we'll have you back in here in a couple of months maybe. And get
Sounds good, Steve.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. I'm Steve Hare. This is In Focus on NCW Life.
If you are looking for dependable car service and repair, visit the good guys at Quick Lube and Tune. They've been keeping cars and trucks in the Wenatchee Valley running smooth for 35 years. Quick Lube and Tune is your hometown shop for a 10-minute oil change, complete tune-ups, alignments, brakes, mufflers, air conditioning service, and more. Get more life out of your vehicle by bringing it to the local guys you can trust at Quick Lube and Tune on South Wenatchee Avenue.
Family roles change with time. You may find yourself being an unpaid caregiver to a loved one. Caregiving can be rewarding, but also stressful. Taking care of yourself is vital. Aging and Adult Care of Central Washington has low or no cost services for unpaid caregivers, such as in-home support, care supplies, and counseling. Connect in your local area by calling Aging and Adult Care at 800-572-4459 and mention you're interested in caregiver support.
You don't have to be a member to enjoy the view and dine-in style at Highlander Bar and Grill in East Wenatchee. Open 7 days a week, Highlander Grill offers breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in or take it to go, our friendly staff is here to serve you. Reservations recommended for Friday night's prime rib dinner. Call for live music dates. Hi, I'm Shalane, site coordinator for Highlander Grill. Give me a call to schedule your event today.
AC Checker has new owners who put customer service first. When you have to get there on time, call fast, friendly, reliable AC Checker, 663-TAXI. AC Checker has the industry's only on-time or it's free guarantee. Conditions apply. Call AC Checker, 663-TAXI to schedule your cab or schedule online at acchecker.com. Call American Classic Taxi, 663-TAXI. That's 663-8294.
And we are back. About a minute left in this program. Let's take a look at that all-important weather forecast from the National Weather Service. It's clear skies and 30 degrees outside of our studios. We're going to see a mixture of clouds and fog today. Not going to be quite as sunny as it was yesterday, and also not quite as warm. We'll top off at 47 degrees. We hit 50 on Wednesday. Weak system comes in tonight. It's going to cloud us up a little bit, 32 for the overnight low. Mostly cloudy but dry on Friday. A little breezy. high of 44 degrees. The weak system exits Friday night, 31 for the overnight low, but we can't rule out a stray snowflake. Saturday going to be about the stormiest day, but there's really nothing out there. Kind of quiet, all things considered, with a high of about 45 degrees, with a slight chance of a rain-snow mix Saturday into early Sunday morning. The sun will be making a comeback on Sunday afternoon. We'll top off at about 46 degrees early next week. Actually, almost all of next week as a second high-pressure ridge begins to develop. Looks like it's going to be quite sunny, very mild for the middle of February. Have a schmantabulous day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.